Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all holding up okay in the current situation. I hope everyone's doing okay. In a development that I think we may have to get used to as PlayStation fans as we receive more information about PS5 in the coming months, Sony, out of the blue completely today, just dropped on the PlayStation blog on their social media pages, hey, guess what? PlayStation 5 controller, here it is. And it's genuinely surprising. I made a video about DualShock 5 a few months ago and about how this thing probably isn't going to be that much different from DualShock 4. I don't know how much Sony wants to innovate on DualShock 4. We got information in the Wired articles about this new controller, but looking at it today and actually getting this press release, I'm genuinely surprised by how different this thing actually is. There were those pattern designs that we'd seen over the last few months, and that seemed to indicate that they were going in a direction that was basically just the same as DualShock 4. They were going to use the same controller with minor physical improvements and at the same time having those internal improvements we talked about, like the haptic feedback, etc., which are still a huge part of this controller. But hey, the actual design exterior of it, shocking how different it is. I'm very surprised by it. When I first saw it on my feed this morning, I thought to myself, that looks like some fan mock-up on Reddit or something, but no, it's 100% real, it's crazy. And I've noticed that the response online has been already quite polarizing and divisive. A lot of people really seem to like it, a lot of people think it's absolute trash. Let's get into the statement from Sony Interactive Entertainment's CEO and President Jim Ryan. DualSense marks a radical departure from our previous controller offerings and captures just how strongly we feel about making a generational leap with PS5. The new controller, along with the many innovative features in PS5, will be transformative for games, continuing our mission at PlayStation to push the boundaries of play now and in the future. To the PlayStation community, I truly want to thank you for sharing this exciting journey with us as we head towards PS5's launch in holiday 2020. We look forward to sharing more information about PS5, including the console design, in the coming months. First of all, quickly, nothing to do with the controller, but because I just read that out, they're sticking by holiday 2020. I think it's honestly still very likely that the console ends up getting delayed. I know that's something Microsoft has also talked about in the last few weeks. The reality that we're living in, it just seemed so obvious that these consoles were going to get delayed. We know so many games are getting pushed, it only made a ton of sense. But Jim Ryan, brand new statement right now, right here today, sticking by the fact that, PS5 coming out holiday 2020. I mean, it's certainly interesting the fact that they continue to say that. Like, if they weren't sure internally, if they weren't positive, they could very well just choose to say nothing. Like, he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to mention the release date at all. But the fact that he chose to reiterate it again indicates they're confident that they will be able to launch at that date. Other than the crazy, colours and design you can see behind me, the first kind of shocking thing I think about this controller is the fact that it's not called DualShock 5. Calling the controllers DualShock is something that began midway through, I believe, the PS1 generation, where they released an upgraded version of the PS1 controller called the DualShock, and then from then on out, PS2, DualShock 2, PS3, DualShock 3, etc. We now have the DualShock 4, obviously. So it seemed like a no-brainer. PS5, we're going to get that DualShock 5 controller, duh. No, they've decided to give it a different name. They've changed it to the DualSense. And I think that's actually quite a good move. I think it's interesting the fact that they made the effort and put the thought into changing the name at all. To me, indicates that they feel that this controller is a big enough leap to kind of give it that different branding, to give it that different feel and name. I don't know, I think it speaks a lot to their confidence in the controller, and I think, just like Jim said, they want to show exactly how next gen this thing actually is. And considering, as someone, and I know a lot of other people feel this way, that we don't really need a next generation of consoles right now. Our PS4s, our Xbox One X's, whatever you're using, they're holding up really well at the moment. What's the point of next gen? What can next gen bring us? And the fact that they're choosing to change this name. They're choosing to really emphasize, come at you hard with the fact that, no, we've got something genuinely worth being called next gen. And that's why I like the name DualSense. The fact that we know this controller has these big improvements that we've never seen in controllers before, the haptic feedback, the adaptive triggers as well. Those big next steps in how we play games, the fact that, I think the example they've used multiple times in the Wired articles is with the new triggers, you're going to be able to feel the tension of a bow and arrow string, things like that. And I think reading about it doesn't sound all that interesting to me, at least. I think a lot of people feel that way as well. I don't really care about some kind of huge upgraded version of the triggers that do that shit. I don't really care about crazy rumble, you know, that stuff doesn't really interest me. But I haven't used the controller, none of us have used the controller, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if once we get our hands on the controller, it actually does surprise us with how crazy those features are. A lot of people have been commenting on the bulkier shape of the controller, the fact that it very much kind of resembles the traditional Xbox controller. A lot of hardcore PlayStation fans probably aren't going to like that. I think it's really cool. I've always really liked the Xbox controllers. I had a 360 and I think that's a really, really great controller, and kind of, I guess, in some way mocking that physical shape in the shell of the controller. I don't know, I think it's a really cool move. Everyone loves the Xbox One controller. Another thing I love about it is the new light bar. The fact that the light bar now kind of is placed alongside the touchpad. I love that because, you know, everyone talks about this all the time, the fact that the light bar is kind of dumb on the PlayStation 4, all it does is drain battery, it serves no practical purpose because you as the player, you can never see the bloody light bar because it's on top of the controller. And I know they tried to fix that with the new PS4 controllers that let you kind of see through the touchpad. That's a kind of cool solution, I guess. But moving the light bar fully to the front facing of the controller, so yeah, you can actually see it. And beyond just that functionality thing, it adds that really cool kind of neon feel to it, I think. Having that constant dim glow there. I don't know, it might get annoying maybe. Sometimes I haven't used that new PS4 controller, but I think it's a really cool idea. Makes way more sense than what they did with DualShock 4 in my opinion. The buttons, for me, I don't know if I like them. And that goes for this entire thing. I'm not going to know for sure until I get my hands on the controller, hopefully in the coming months. But I don't know, the buttons kind of look reflective and give me that kind of glossy feel. And I just don't like the look of that at all. Just looking at the buttons, they look slippery to me, if that makes any sense. I don't know if you know what I mean, but that's not really what I want out of my console controller. So look, hopefully that's just how they look, and once I actually get my hands on them, they'll make a lot more sense. I'll really enjoy them, hopefully. I really love the current PS4 controller's buttons. Those huge buttons. I think they're really great. So hopefully, you know, if they're anything like that, I'll be a happy man anyway. Another major thing that a lot of people certainly have a different opinion about is the color scheme. The fact that for the first time they've decided to go with two color schemes for the one controller with the black and white look. And I must say, I don't like it that much. That's another one of the key aspects where I'm like, ugh. Yeah, it's not a look that does a lot for me. I've seen already there's been a ton of mock-ups done by fans in Photoshop about what different colors on the controller would look like, and some of them are really cool. And honestly, one of my favorite ones I've seen is just one that's just an all-black controller with the colored buttons again. That looked great. I would totally love that controller. I don't know if I'm sold on the idea of the two colors, and the fact that currently the buttons don't have any color on them either. They're just kind of white as well. That, I'm not a fan of that at all. I really want a version of the controller where hopefully the color's more consistent across the board. I don't really like two colors, and I want the goddamn buttons to be colored as well. I mean, that iconography of the PlayStation symbols, having those different colors, it feels weird to remove the colors in my opinion. Even Xbox on the regular base controller hasn't gone so far as to remove the colors from their goddamn buttons. So I don't know, I hope there's a version of the controller where you can actually get those colors anyway. I guess as someone who really likes white controllers, this just isn't doing it for me. But you know, it doesn't really matter. You know, there's going to be plenty of different versions of this controller for sale eventually anyway, so it doesn't really matter what the launch one is, I guess. Wow, I just rendered this entire video useless by saying that. This wasn't a surprise anymore. It was a surprise in the original patent we talked about months ago that the touchpad would be returning. I would have thought months ago that there's no way the touchpad would be returning. But like I said, we learned that the touchpad was going to be returning, and seeing it here, I think it looks cool. I guess I'm still a little bit surprised that it's returning, you know, like there's just been such little integration with it in first party games really over the last few years. Detroit comes to mind as using it, but I mean, other than that, it's really only used for kind of quick shortcuts in menus, and that's cool. But I don't know, I'm surprised that they really are sticking by the touchpad this time. But to be honest, look, I think it looks fine, and if it doesn't drain the battery that much, because the battery really needs to be improved over DualShock 4, the current battery really sucks. If the touchpad doesn't act to drain the battery, I guess it's fine being there. But I will say, obviously, they mentioned that they're going to reveal the console design quite soon, hopefully in the coming months. I don't suspect it'll be that far away now. We're already in April. I would suspect we know what the console will look like by June, or maybe sometime in June at the latest, you know. But regardless of that, I think the choice to do the black and white controller might, and this is obviously just speculation, I've got no idea, but it might reveal that they're going to do something like this for the actual console design. I would not be at all surprised to see the actual console also has a black and white kind of combination going on in its design. I'm just saying, a black and white console, I don't know if I like that, but hey, we'll see, I guess. All right, that's all. We got the PS5 controller confirmed today. I mean, it's certainly interesting to talk about. It certainly surprised me, the look of it, that's for sure. But I'm just happy we got finally some confirmed, actual decent information from Sony about PS5. I made that video a few weeks ago about that really mediocre presentation and the fact that, okay, great, we're getting some news, we're on a bit of a roll, we're actually getting some concrete information now that's genuinely interesting. That's exciting to me. So there's no way I couldn't talk about this. Let me know what you feel, or how you feel I should say, about the PS5 controller, the DualSense. God, I'm gonna have to get used to calling it that. I think we all are. In the comments down below if you've got any crazy takes about it. Let me know down there. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't. Check out all the other fun and also trash content that I make on the channel as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. This has been SirCazz. Farewell. I feel dumb doing that little salute there. It's kind of weird, isn't it?